Hey there, this is Jacob Corey Gold. Fear cannot live in the present, only in thoughts of the past or a future. So now, fear can never exist unless permission is granted. So, what should be the response to a call from fear? I don't know, because in the present, fear cannot exist. Before I went to sleep last night, I wrote down the words, I don't know. When we live as a know it all, and I'm speaking for myself, I've lived as a know it all. I've gotten into arguments, I've gotten into disputes within my own self, within my own mind, because I knew the answer. Um, as I've journeyed, I've learned that through the course of conversations, through the course of my work, that I can't be a know-it-all. Can't walk around knowing it all. In the instance of being inside of a school, I recall being there and having to be so quiet and so still to where I could be directed into which hallway to go and stand in, which classroom to go and stand in. And in those moments, I would then know why I had to be in that moment, in that space at that time. Throughout conversations, uh, as I've learned to be a listener, uh, not necessarily just to the words that I'm hearing aloud, right? But I'm listening from my innermost being in a way that says, "Hey, answer this way, answer with this tone, respond with this tone, offer this as a suggestion." And that has allowed me to avoid certain arguments. Now, I can't help the way somebody responds to me, but I can be mindful and cognizant of the way that I approach a conversation, the way that I approach my job in an interaction. Having an I don't know about me allows me to rely solely on the spiritual, solely on my creator that knows it all. And when I say creator, I mean love, uh, the creator of all. Uh, and so some would call that the Holy Trinity. Uh, but again, we're not defining our words through the lens of a religion, but through the lens of light and love. And so walking in a sense of love, I recall being at Morehouse. That's where I did my undergrad. And when I left my little town up in Michigan, and I mean, religion just had a real strong, it was a part of my foundation, the way that I grew up. And so, in that, and this is my thinking, this is not what I'm saying folks trained or taught, but insofar as what I was perceiving through what was taught, only Christians were the people that I should be talking to. Only Christian music should be only what I listen to. And that was well and good. But then when you encounter beautiful people outside of Christendom, what do you do with that? When all you know is that foundation, that frame that says outside of this, shouldn't be talking to them, shouldn't be. Mm-mm. And so I recall meeting the beautiful brother down at Morehouse. and can't recall his name for the life of me. But the interactions that we had were just incredible in terms of the conversation, in terms of friendship and camaraderie. But he was a Muslim. And so within me, he was like, man, I shouldn't be befriending this Muslim because, they speak against Muslims in the church. That was my perception of what was coming across, the words that I was hearing. And so eventually, and this is very, very early on, and this is, I believe, how the friendship could persist through the next at least year or so. He was older than me. So of course he's graduated and moving on. But with that, we would have conversations about religion. But one of the very first conversations I heard in my innermost being, love said, allow me to name myself. The exact thought was God could name himself. Don't be trying to give the name of to name God for somebody else. And that was freeing for me. I didn't have to proselytize. I didn't have to preach and give religion. It was like I could just give love. I could just befriend this person in a way that we don't have to argue about that which we think we know. If I approach that conversation with I know, I would have never grown to realize that again, there are beautiful people that don't have to have the same religious ideology, don't have to have the same political ideology. That's what makes us one. Beneath all those layers of ideology, beneath all those layers of perception, and even the layers of trauma, trauma informs in a way that says, oh, I know that that's a bad person because he looks like the one that traumatized me. Sounds like the one that traumatized me. He raises his voice if she does a certain thing. Oh, I was traumatized in that way. So I'm like, wait a minute. That's a layer. And those are perceptions that are not based in reality. They're based in, what did I say? Only in thoughts of the past or a future can fear persist. Can those trauma-informed decisions persist? One of our brothers, he became a trainer in ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences, which is really a broad umbrella to speak towards the trauma that poverty brings, the trauma that living in certain geographical locations brings, the trauma that a certain upbringing brings, the trauma that living in America in certain instances brings, the trauma that living wherever you're from. And those are layers that inform your decision making, inform your no. And so, because you know this trauma, you're going to react and respond like this. Because I knew that somebody said that and they did this. If I hear that, no matter if it's a beautiful person, no matter if it's a different person, no matter if that's the same person, they could have grown. Operating in the sense of I know puts people in a box and it's still, puts images, puts concepts in a box and it's yours and that's it. That's all I know. The offering of all the things like this podcast is to get beyond what we think we know, to offer an opportunity for us all to get to know from within, the light from within. Because everything that was made from the invisible, was made from source. And again, however you call source, there is source. Because we didn't get here on our own. And certainly I didn't create myself, and neither did you. But insofar as we are co-creators of this life as we move forward, operating and co-creating from a sense of I don't know, gives us the peace and the freedom and the foundation to walk towards the light beyond, again, the layers of trauma, beyond the layers of I was taught this because my mom or my daddy taught them that because their parents and their parents taught them that. Well, just think about diet. Um, my grandparents ate a certain kind of way, and I would be paying attention. I would just be paying attention. And to hear that there was heart disease and things like gout that showed up in physical ailments and diabetes because they ate a certain kind of way. And in my just learning and being intelligent and reading, it's like, wait, I can't eat like this. And it was not a knock against anyone or anything that you eat. But within my innermost being, it was like, that's not going to be for me. Because I don't want to have gout. I don't want to have heart disease. I don't want to have diabetes and be on dialysis. And so if that's all I think I know, and I'm stuck in that concept of eating a certain kind of way, then I'm going to produce the same exact thing. So how do we learn from one another in the sense of the love that we have for light, the love that we have for one another is going to offer and provide that opportunity for me to offer a suggestion, a word of wisdom. Same in terms of me hearing from those that love. I look forward to that love share. And that love share has to operate from that space of, I don't know, this walk has to operate from a sense of I don't know. I spoke on episode 1 in terms of having a beautiful home and having a wonderful job and all of the experiences that I've had. I could not have choreographed that. I could not have scripted that from uh, 10 years old and said this is going to happen at this year at this time. Operating in the sense of I don't know. I woke up in the middle of the night and my innermost being said, start looking for what? Start looking for a house. Get yourself pre-qualified. Start looking right now. This is right before the pandemic in 2019. But the thing about it is, I had already spoken when I signed that 2-year lease of the last place that I lived in on the south side of Chicago. I spoke out loud. I'm going to be buying a house before this lease is up. I spoke it, but I didn't know when and where and how. Listen, it was in the middle of the night. I started looking. I got myself pre. I did exactly what my innermost being would love, my creator, me co-creating this life, told me to do. And in as much as I did that, there was an elder on my job. I was showing him different houses. He was saying, "No, I don't know about that, brother. You may want to check on the foundation." I was like, "This is a beautiful home. This is a beautiful home." He's like, "No, I want to." But I listened. I didn't know it all. I did not know. And so operating in that sense of I don't know has set me up to be in the places where we are, where I am, and where I can share here today. Because I don't know. But I do know that I'm tapping into source that knows it all. And the light is of the source. And that is how we share. That is how I'm growing up and learning and walking and talking and speaking and able to, in spite of it all, keep smiling because that's what's in me. So I'm happy to continue to share, and I look forward to your likes and your shares and your comments if that's what you so choose to do. Let us continue to walk in the light together. Grace.